Yo, what's going on, everybody? Your man Jay Blaze with my man Alan. It is the Daddy. Sorry, I cut you off like that.
You good?
It's the Daddy Dialogue podcast.
Keep it moving.
Excited to have you guys again with me as we have been journeying through so many different topics, and you guys have been a part of it all. First of all, if you haven't done it, make sure you give us a review on Spotify or wherever platform you're listening to this on. Shoot us a review on there. It does really well for the algorithm, and it gives us a chance for more people to see our podcast. So let's get that out of the way. That is done. If you haven't followed us on Facebook, how do you do that, Alan?
Man, they just got to click and look for it first of all. Then they click like.
Yes.
And then the notification bells come on.
Boom.
There's only going to be good stuff coming out. Why not hit that noti?
Let them know, son.
Hit that noti.
Right now. No. Oh, that's a new one. Okay. I get it. Yo, listen. And so we've been talking about different things. And today, a topic that I think is extremely important, something that I've wrestled with for a long time. And so let's just start with this question, B, because I think this is the best way to go at it without getting too formal with the situation. How have you done when it comes to teaching your kids or your daughters Spanish? Have you done a good job? How has that process been? Or are you a horrible dad when it comes to teaching them Spanish? Look at your face. It says I don't even have to ask you. You're already sort of giving me the answer. I want to know from you, how has the process been when it comes to your kids? Because first of all, yeah, you can tighten it right here on the side. Put it up.
If you want me to be honest, I think it's in the middle.
It's in the middle? Wait, so you haven't done a good job.
But I haven't done a bad job. Okay. How would you first? So how do you even gauge that? That's the real question here. Whenever me and my wife want to talk important, right?
Okay.
Something about important stuff. Mm-hmm. We start talking in Spanish.
Okay, but that means your kids don't know Spanish.
They don't know it, but they're so nosy now.
Oh my God!
That they're like, yo, I gotta figure out what's so. All of a sudden, the elements come around, and she's like, I know what you guys are talking about. You're talking about this, that, and the third. I'm like, really? So you heard what we were saying in Spanish and understood? So is that a wing, or is that a wing?
It's genius. I'm not gonna lie. That's a pretty good way you maneuver that. I didn't even know.
But as far as like giving them the basics, no.
No. And so would you say you have 3 daughters, right? Two. Do they both know Spanish, or neither of them know Spanish?
They both have the Dora the Explorer Spanish.
And that means what exactly? That's interesting. I want to hear, what do you mean? What does that mean, Dora the Explorer Spanish?
So basically...
Words? Specific words?
Yeah. So it's like, they'll be like, look, Dad, it's sapita.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, sweetheart, whatever that was.
And that's how they've
gotten a lot better. See, so my daughter, my oldest, she does, read Spanish.
Okay.
But she would be like, atrás de las dos personas. She does it like that.
You put your daughter on Front Street.
I love her, though. She's mad dope, though.
Okay.
That's
so
it.
she
fixed it?
Yeah, quickly, fast.
Yeah, bro.
I'm not going to lie. So it sounds like you haven't done a great job.
Not the best.
I do want to tell you, my friend, I do want to be honest with you and tell you that you are not alone.
Oh.
There are many parents that are struggling in this area. But first of all, before we even get into that, because I'm trying to save you here, I don't want you to be out in the wilderness by yourself.
I hear them now.
Yes, they're close.
Howling in the top of the mountains.
There's a group of people holding hands coming close to help you.
They're at the Chorro Doña Juana.
Yes,
they're like, ¿Por qué?
Exactly. I want to tell you, first of all, before we even talk about that, is why is learning your native tongue important? Like knowing your native tongue. In this context, we're talking about Spanish because, you're Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican Dominican. And
I'm Puerto Rican and Nicaraguense.
Okay, so muchacho, hasta más todavía. You're supposed to know. Your kids are supposed to at least know somewhat of some Spanish, and so it's important. It's our job as parents. Why is it important? Why do you think it's important? And I'll tell you why I think it's important to know our native language.
Okay, so I feel like it's important to learn different languages so that when you're around, you can adapt or you could get by.
Okay,
but I don't think you want to hear if it's important.
No, why? I do.
I'm such a fanatic of the future that we're not going to need different languages.
Oh, here we go with one of these.
I feel like...
Cue the music.
You'll be able to just pop in something on the side of the ear, similar to the Google Lens.
You're always on some technology tip.
Bro, I'm a big fan. Okay. I wait for the day that the USB can go to the back of the creative space of your brain and you make beats in 5 minutes. Not even. How about 3 minutes? How about 2?
We're going down this deep
Mr. J. Blaze Garcia.
We're going down this deep Google hole that you are.
I feel like there's another way. Can I be honest? And you can correct me.
Of course you can be honest.
America can correct me. I feel like a lot of people say it because they want to be prideful.
Mm-hmm.
No, you got to learn Spanish because you're Puerto Rican or you're Nicaraguense, and Nicaraguenses got to keep going.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that if you don't do the language, you're not going to be Puerto Rican or you're not going to be Nicaraguense?
You got a point. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you why. You make a pivotal point here because
I'm just saying.
Hispanic, especially Latinos, our people. Woo,
Yeah.
when it comes to
I just don't.
they go
celebrate.
so hard body with it. It's
I
ridiculous.
love everyone. I'm all thanks to all people, my brother.
I get it. You're for everybody here. There's
sure.
just nobody you
Yeah.
exclude in
Yeah.
your circle. I get it. So language is important for a couple of reasons, and some of
Okay.
these I didn't know these per se. I had my own reasons. I think as a Puerto Rican and Dominican, I think when I started to learn my native language, when I really started to embrace when I embraced my language, I really started to love who I was. So saying all that, when you know your native tongue, when you know your native language, there comes something special about embracing your culture and who you are as an identity.
Yeah.
As a person.
It's not just abuela going,
Exactly.
está
Like
practicando.
let's talk dad hip hop terms, okay?
Yeah.
I'll tell you how it all correlated together to me. So when I started to really embrace Spanish and like understand the culture part,
Yeah.
and then I heard this heavy set Puerto Rican dude from New York named Big Pun rapping. All that correlated together with him speaking Spanish, knowing, although he didn't speak it 100%.
Spanglish.
Yeah, it made me extremely proud.
Watching
It
novela
hel-
with abuela talking all that bochinchera.
Exactly.
Remember?
Come on, son. Come on, son. You already
Yeah,
know where
bro.
I'm going with
I
this.
see it.
The brick walls with the guard. Yeah.
That's
So that all together helped me. It helped me in the process of really embracing my culture and like my identity as a Latino.
Yeah.
As like a Puerto Rican dude and
Yeah,
being
yeah.
like, oh, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Dominican. And it helped me maneuver, and it's twofold. Not just my identity by knowing my native tongue, my native language, but also being able to relate better to my family members. And so when I remember like, an ejemplo, me and
Yeah.
you, we're Puerto Ricans, okay?
Yeah.
You're half, I am half too. I'm half Dominican, half Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
You're half Nicaraguense, half Puerto
I think
Rican.
half people are the best.
They are. They're
I'll
mutts,
explain
but we're
later.
the best. And so there's something about that when you start to learn certain things. Un ejemplo. I remember the first time I spoke to a family member from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And there was something they do on the phone that I wasn't used. I remember because your wife told me when we were having dinner one time all together.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I put all our
Yo,
personal
that
business
story,
stuff.
we have to.
Yes, but I'm saying
Anyways.
the story where she said, "Yeah, bendiciones." Like there's a thing that Puerto Ricans say. When
Buen
I
provecho.
when I knew who and you didn't know that.
I didn't know it.
Exactly, that's the story. So when I embraced who I was as a Puerto Rican by knowing not that I was a perfect speaking Spanish Puerto
Same,
Rican dude,
same.
I started to learn it. I got to embrace it and understand the value of it.
Yeah,
And so that's
yeah.
why I think it's important. It took me a long time to realize that.
Yeah.
I think when I was young, I didn't really care, and I was like, eh. But saying all that, the reason why I think it's important is because somewhere in all of that, in me and you becoming fathers, raising children, it's become less and less of that, and our kids are becoming less and less, even more prone to learning the language. And so I say that because in my scenario, and just like you mentioned, my son Josiah, who's 9 now, I've had a really hard time of him getting to really embrace it, love it, like it, want to learn it, and want to seek it more.
Yeah.
And so the more digging I did, and even with your scenario, that's why I said you're not alone. There's thousands and millions of parents having the same issue.
Yeah.
But I will say it's not your fault. There's a couple of variables and things that are happening because times have changed since me and you went to school that have made it extremely hard for our kids to embrace one culture, 2, learn their language, and 3, feel proud about representing it. The good thing is that as parents, we can change that. That narrative can change.
Yeah.
And not just through these conversations, but there'll be some applicable things that we can use in our lives. I'm not saying that they're going to be magic, boom, one day to the next, but there's some things we can think about as we're, like how you said, when you're conversating with your daughter, you did a smart thing. I didn't even think about that. I thought it was really smart, where you sort of talk in Spanish to your wife. That way your kids have to, in a way, they have to go put their work in to go figure
Exactly.
out
What
what
that
you're
meant.
saying. And so it forces them. I'm going to give you some other options of some things that you can do
Okay.
that'll help you and sort of maneuver. But first, I think, which is really, really important, why is it happening? Why is it happening where now kids aren't talking the language? And there's some scenarios. A couple of years ago, and I'll go into the short story to get you where I learned where this is all was coming from for me personally. I was working in Houston, Texas. You know this.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was meeting a lot of Latino and majority Mexican families. A lot of Mexican families in Houston. Mexican American, which is
Yeah.
very different than just Mexican. And I realized, I assume coming from Miami, that every kid or every, offspring, every little kid that would come by that I met their family, their kid automatically knew some Spanish. I was horribly, it was bad. It was wrong. It was embarrassing sometimes because they were like, I don't talk like that. And I just assumed because,
Yeah.
you're coming from Spanish parents. Your parents are Mexican, so you speak it.
Yeah.
And I realized after having some conversations, some lunch with some parents, they were listeners, and they were like, "No, man, here the culture is different, and our kids, we barely know. Like, we came to Houston really small. The dominant language was English, and so that's what we adopted. Although we understand what they're saying, which I think this is
Yeah.
embarrassing in some ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you don't even know how to maneuver yourself in your own language.
Wow.
Some people might be like, "Why could you say that?" But I think it's important to some degree because
Yeah.
it really tells a lot about who you are. You can't be. There's people out here. You know this. Like there's
Right.
people that walk out here and they talk like they know this culture or they know their Spanish and they don't even know what an alcapurria is or they
Right.
don't know what. I'm not saying you gotta be clear. Everybody's scenario is different. You're being raised in a different circumstance. Your family dynamic is different. So I'm not saying automatic, boom, you're this,
Yeah.
you're Puerto Rican, you got to know what acapurrias are. And you got to
Right.
know what San Juan is. You got to
Yeah.
know, like, there's this checklist. No, that's
You're not
what
saying cachea. You know that's not a word.
Exactly. Like, that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
What I'm saying is you should at least dive in a little bit and get a little educated so it helps you maneuver. One, how you communicate to your family members, and two, so you know a little bit about your history. I think
Sure.
it's important. If not, then people are going to dictate what history you should know. When in reality, you could make the push and say, these are the things I want to do to make sure I know who I am. It took me years to know that I wasn't just Puerto Rican and Dominican, but that I came from a Taino Indian. Like,
Oh, gotcha.
all those things.
Yeah.
And they correlate with me knowing my language.
Yeah.
So knowing that is, but I understand and respect your take, which I hadn't heard before ever. You were like, you said, and I quote to some degree, you can clarify it for me. I don't take it as serious because Latinos sometimes feel like there's this real stigma, like dogma, like you gotta know if you're Nicaragüense, you gotta know what carne asada is and gallo pinto and queso frito, and you gotta know,
Yeah.
like there's this checklist that and if you're not, you're like this bad parent.
Yeah,
and that,
all I know is like gallo pinto and how to say a voz.
no, oh
No
wow.
tabos.
And so I know.
That's
So,
it.
so speaking that we're talking about this Nica stuff, and I love Nica food, by the way. So you know what cacao is, right?
Nope.
You don't know what that
Nope.
is.
My
That is
mom
a
would make
chocolate.
certain foods,
that
and that
is
was
a
pretty much
chocolate
it.
drink. They take the cocoa bean and they make this sweet coconut chocolate drink with ice. Nica,
Sounds good.
In a Nica spot. Oh, actually, we might get that today.
Word?
Amazing. Yes. And so I can't believe you don't know what that is.
Nah, bro,
This
I
could be
don't.
like a whole nother conversation
Gallo
another day.
pinto, like sopita, like the way my mom used to
We
make it.
gotta
That's
put you on
it,
game.
though.
And so,
That's
okay,
it.
but so
My wife knows more.
the reason why
And she's full but Taino Puerto Rican.
and
so.
she knows about the good food.
Yeah.
And she's probably wish she go get that kind of food. We're hungry. So
Yeah, we are.
Point is, what I'm saying is, it happens with every family, and a lot of dads and a lot of moms that are listening to this, and they're saying, "Man, I feel convicted or I feel bad because
Yeah.
my kid doesn't know enough Spanish or not enough to where I feel," and so people will judge you. There's a stigma, like you're a bad parent if you're not especially among Latinos.
Well, that's why
If
I
you're
feel like
not
I'm in the
teaching-
middle.
That's one, but you're well balanced. You're not
Look at
every
the
parent.
internet.
You're not every parent. You're not
You
every
don't-
parent.
You go to New York.
Yeah.
They don't have the same type of Yo, what's good, Sean? Yeah, like we're doing this, that, and the third, blah blah blah. They don't talk like that no more
They don't.
because of the
Times have
internet.
changed. Times
They
have
watch
changed.
YouTube so much that they all have the same vernacular.
And you're fighting a battle that's not going to be won when they're
The internet,
a percentage of the
never
time
lost.
and they're giving them English 80% of the time in their lives.
Yep.
They're not listening.
Yep.
So I'll tell you some of the reasons why.
Okay.
This is interesting. Interesting stuff that I found that I thought it was just a fib, things people were saying.
Oh, okay.
And so some interesting stats. According to studies, dropping the home language, which in this case would be Spanish, something that often happens is because children don't want to be different from their friends at school. So they feel like outsiders. In other words, kids are sometimes afraid to even speak Spanish, in our case, because they feel like an outsider at school. So other kids are like, man, you're talking Spanish? Like,
Yeah.
why? Huh? What is that? Like, they'll embarrass them. They feel embarrassed.
To talk Spanish?
Yes, bro. To us, it seems normal. But to
Wow.
kids, some kids make fun of them because they're like, what are you talking that Spanish stuff? Or like,
You got some of them, they're like, oh, I'm Puerto Rican.
yes.
It's in my...
Yeah,
and they want to
all
hang
right.
on to that,
No,
too.
and they say other stuff connected to that. Oh,
Yeah.
you black too. You Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
You black too.
Yeah.
I get it. And so that's one thing. And so the other
There's
thing
a
is,
duality of that, yeah.
it is. And countries like the United States, for example, the average of 2 out of 10 kids are bilingual. That means that, in other words,
Wow.
very few are actually bilingual enough where they go home, they're overcrowded with Spanish, and they're not speaking it.
That's
they're
how it was for me.
They're sticking to their guns.
Yeah.
So I can't blame you because that's what happened to you.
Yeah.
So I can't be like, well, that's what Alan got. In my case, so that's why I don't feel bad. Like, I respect.
I got
the
in trouble a lot. So when I get in trouble, they speak to me in Spanish.
Oh no, because they're mad.
Guess how much Spanish I know now?
Oh no, and you
So I
probably
got in
know all the
trouble
bad
a
words because
whole
they're
lot.
whooping the trash. out.
Nah, they got saved early when I was young.
Oh, okay.
I can
okay.
still faintly remember them receiving Christ. Like,
Okay.
I think it was a Mexican dude that was doing it.
And they switched
in
up.
Cali.
They weren't as rough after they met Christ.
No, they were definitely still rough. It was,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
but what I'm saying is that the vernacular definitely changed, but a lot of times there was Spanish involved,
Uh huh.
and it's because I was a coco head, or maybe this, that,
And you
the-
didn't.
Yeah,
No, and
so-
I think that's why I can't feel bad for parents if that's the way you were raised.
yeah,
In mine,
naturally it comes out.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna do what you were taught. Like,
Yeah.
if that's what your parents taught you. That's what you're going to relate to your children.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's why you can't. I get hurt when I see parents coming at their kids like aggressively, bro. Like on some, like that cop right now is killing my podcast right now.
Yo, straight up.
But it's okay.
You're in Miami.
We just
Welcome to
305,
Miami.
son. So like, but I get really irked. Not mad. I get irked
Yeah.
when I see parents going at their kids because they don't know Spanish, but they never, one, took the time to teach them, and secondly, they barely know Spanish, but they're
And it's a top level surface reason why.
What-
They get
what is-
upset for the top. What I spoke to. You're Puerto Rican. You have to sound Spanish. You're Nicaraguan. You have to sound.
it's
Like, is there anything deeper than that? Because I need to know. I took my family to Puerto Rico. We all went to Puerto Rico for a week. I wish it would have been 14 weeks. Just the way people carried themselves was the culture for me. The terms of endearment, the way the Spanish is brought out when they call you, you can't do that in American language. You can't
No,
do
you
that in
can't.
English. You can't call somebody papito.
No,
you
you
can't say
can't.
that. I can say
No.
that to you because you know it's a term of endearment.
exactly.
So
exactly.
there's the culture.
You're
There's
right.
the
You're
depth.
Right. You're right. You're right.
Not-
but I don't want to. What I do want to make sure
Okay.
is that we don't use that excuse to not go get educated
For
on
sure.
who we are.
For sure. Absolutely.
Because I'm with you.
Yeah.
Because there is not a one key entry into like, oh, this is culture. I got it.
That's it.
I'm in.
Yep.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's, and man, like everything you do, and you're trying to get better at, you spit in bars.
Yeah.
If you don't work on your craft or do the research on how cadence or spit, how can I progress?
Thank you for that, by the way.
You understand
You're
what
giving
I'm
me that now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
bro.
if you don't really work on that,
Yep.
then, and so the same thing with our
Yeah.
culture. If we, because I feel like as you get older as a dad or as a parent,
Yeah.
you do tend to care either the world is going to tell your kid where they're from and where they're raised at and give them limited information, or you're going to make sure you fill in the blanks where they're not doing it. And
Sounds like responsibility needs to go up.
Exactly
Ooh.
on that. And so, like, I think it's something you got to continually, but I respect the fact of how you said, which I never had thought about, is that you don't need a specific thing to be like, this is culture.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you Puerto Rican because you knew. Like, when I
Yeah.
talk to you, and I've known you for a couple years now, not that you don't speak all this Spanish,
Yeah.
but there's certain things you do that I already know you know the culture.
Yeah, you're right. Because you're
You
like,
don't have to give me like these long,
right.
You know what I mean?
I
And
gave you
never
like a one-liner, and you're
and
like,
I don't
oh.
yeah, and I never feel like you say something, like there's times you say, I don't know that, Jay, or like,
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
that Puerto Rican. And I'm like, nah, bro, you're
Yeah.
enough. Like,
And what connects even more is certain sayings in the
Yes.
Spanish culture in church.
exact. Oh, yeah. Oh,
The one-liners.
There's even more correlation
Yeah.
there. So,
Yeah.
like, so you're right. You don't need to know. I just feel like I don't want that to be the excuse to not get our kids educated on
Yes.
knowing some of their culture.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, bro, like you're gonna
That just
sit-
gave me a little bit more conviction. I ain't gonna lie.
I'm not saying, and me too,
Yeah.
because I'm not doing as good as I need to. One,
Right.
with teaching my son Spanish. And so that's why this conversation is happening. And we can talk about culture, and we will in other episodes and other things, because I think there's so much more pieces to this than just that part. But this leads us to understand why language is important in our context when we say why we're teaching, why we want to make sure that to some degree our kids are learning their native language, and to help a little bit. Not that they're going to be proficient, quickly speaking Puerto Rican Spanish one day to the next, but
Yeah.
I think pieces slowly inverting some things we could help. And so
Yeah.
the idea with this conversation is to say what things we can do. We said what some of the reasons why. We said one was because they get embarrassed in class and they don't want to speak it. Another thing is because many times it's not being spoken inside the household.
Yeah.
So they don't feel encouraged.
Yep.
I remember a while back, maybe a year or two ago,
Unwillingly.
that unwillingly.
It's unwillingly.
You don't know.
encouraged.
You don't
Yeah.
even know you're doing it.
Yeah.
And so, like, with my son, I had a conversation a long time ago where we were like, you know, what are you? And, you know, where you come from? And I just wanted to see what he
asking
was going
him?
to say. Yes. And this is an 8-year-old boy giving me this kind of reply.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, he says, oh, no, he said white to start. And I was like, you're not white. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you think you're right, but you're not, puppy. You're Latino. And so we start talking, conversating. And this is why I say these things. Because if you don't have this conversation, they're just thinking, they're watching YouTube, they're watching
Yeah.
some kid, and they think that's them. And so in reality,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
kid is far from white. He's really
in a
dark.
sense, I feel like I'm like that right now. But before that, when I got a video of my daughter, when I
Uh-huh.
asked her, I was like, sweetheart, you know you're Puerto Rican.
Okay.
And we going back and forth, and she's in tears now. I'm American.
See,
Right? I'm American. No, baby, you're Puerto Rican too. No, She didn't know. She didn't know. But going back to
that's
it.
why this is important.
Yeah, exactly. But I still I kind of feel like I'm like that even right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really associate if I look within myself, and I don't know if this is weird or not.
Like internally, all the way
yeah,
deep
I just feel like I'm human.
at the roots of it.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm a human
I get
that
it.
knows different things, but because I know different things, I can be more versatile about knowing more people.
I get it. You're 100% right.
Yeah. Like I don't feel
I know, and I respect.
I feel like Nicaraguense and Mexican are so close to each other, and I don't even care for neither
No,
two.
pero espérate,
Call me
wait,
that.
But wait,
Call
wait,
me.
But wait.
Call me a
When you
Mexican.
say a statement like that, B, it
just-
almost sounds like you're saying they're almost exactly the same. It doesn't even matter if I go figure out who's Mexican and who's es lo
Yeah.
mismo. They eat it, and they're not. And that's
You're
the,
right.
Be careful.
It's just I only say
Look,
that. I
as your
say that in
brother-
the aspect.
No. As your brother, I'm gonna tell you something. The more, and I'm learning this now, because I feel like, not that I'm trying to be the most educated Puerto Rican or Dominican,
Yeah.
or this gun hole. Oh, I'm 100%. Pura, you know how the Puerto Ricans do? Pura sepa, and they're like pushing
Yeah.
like this. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, as I've gotten older, am I older than you?
I'm
am.
38.
Yeah, I am older by like 4 or 5 years. A couple years ago, man, I
Do
watched
you
it.
feel?
I do not feel.
I feel 10 years younger.
That's what matters. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm 20.
Yeah.
I'm lying. Point is, what I'm saying is, it's important as you get older, you realize that if there's not a really I get what you're saying when you say, I want to be open to everyone and I want to learn more about everybody.
For sure.
But I think somewhere in that all, if you don't really know who you are, like deep down, and you could say, yeah, I know me.
Culturally, you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes. I'm talking about.
I know my identity, obviously.
Yes.
You don't have to get into that.
Yeah. We're talking about culture.
Right.
I think it just does something different because when we're learning, and I didn't even know we were going to get into this, but the more I know about my Puerto Rican roots, the more I'll love and embrace other people's roots because I'll see how they correlate and they're pretty much the same as mine. So like, ejemplo, I'm Puerto Rican Dominican, right? If I had to pick where I know more from, I know more about Puerto Rico.
Same.
But it's encouraged me a little bit to know more about DR.
Yeah.
And then as I've researched, I'm like, man, it's almost the same.
I got you on that.
And
I
so
got you on that.
I have like a different epiphany to be like, man, I can really embrace who you are as being a Nica or being a Honduran.
So the Nicaraguense scene has a heavy reggae, roots reggae.
Yes,
and
Son
that's
Moreno
where,
from the playa, from the coastal. And I only know that because I've met some Nicaraguenses. Like I know an artist who's...
And now I see why I am the way I am with reggae. It's crazy.
So that's why. And so, but I do respect your approach. Like, I never thought of it.
So open, bro.
Never thought, and I think it's interesting to hear that because some people could just be like, "No, yes, no, yours."
Because
is more
I want,
open.
you know what I want? I need that pull. I need that pull from you. I need you to say, "But no, you." When
If
you dial me in,
yeah, because if you put that kind of effort into being open and embracing other people's culture, I think it's only respectful that you do the same kind of effort. Because I'm telling you, man, when you do that, and not that we're just talking about language, something start to connect when you start looking at the lineage of your family. You start looking and you're like, that's why there's reasons, like there's family members I have in my lineage of family that I'm like, that's why that dude acts like that. That's why that dude talks like that. Because he's from this region.
So
and
I favor my uncle and he's Nicaraguense.
See,
he had dreads too before he went.
And that's why you like or you pull to the reggae side.
Before he went to be a Marine for
and that's
Desert
not the
Storm.
first time you tell me about your uncle. So
my man had dreads.
So that to me, that's what I'm saying. And so imagine, and we're gonna go into break here in a second.
Oh yeah.
Imagine this.
See how much fun we having?
No, this is amazing. It even gave me this thought. Imagine if for a minute, the kind of effort you put into figuring out other people's culture, you said, yo, let me dig a little dig. Let me dig deeper into my uncle's root, like where he's at.
Oh.
Like, let me dig, like, what is the genre of reggae? How does it change in that genre?
Okay, yeah.
How can I create, like, an ejemplo? Yeah. There's a Nicaraguan.
Ife from Puerto Rico. Ife has that Senegambian, Guinean roots. Have you ever heard of Ife?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Wow. It's a different kind of sound. And so what I'm saying is when there's just so much that opens up when we look at that. Like musically for you, there might be a genre that's only being done 4 blocks in this region where your uncle was at.
Yeah.
That you could tap into and be like, oh, I can
He's a timbalero, he's a conguero, he does it all.
So
bro.
That's why I'm saying language is just the beginning. It's just a small part of it. When you're digging deep, you're going to find all this other stuff. I'm getting more excited about figuring out some of this Puerto Rican stuff.
Language is important.
I haven't looked at. And so that's why I'm saying I think to some degree, and I only know this now, B. It's not at 20, I wasn't thinking about none of this. I actually didn't care. So now at 40, I'm thinking a little different about why. And then I wondered, I look at some of my old family members, and be like, why are they so passionate about Puerto Rico like that? Like, calm down. Yeah, act like it's a church. Like, relax. Like, we get it. You want to eat Puerto Rican food all day. And you got it.
When I went there for a week, I got it. I was ready to move.
You probably want to go again because you get even more influence.
Let's go. And now more than ever, you talking to me like this, bro.
It's great. But this is a great conversation. I didn't know it was going to go into this, but it's opened so many parts of it.
Spanish is important now.
That's why. Look
how important it got.
If you have not followed us on Facebook, make sure you go do that. That is a platform where you get all the exclusive content behind the scenes. You check out Bonsky. We got to put some of your stuff on there, too. I think it'd be dope. People can see not just what you do here on the podcast, but hear some of your music. We'll put some on there. I think it'd be dope. And he didn't tell me to do that. I'm doing it because I want to. Listen, go check us out on the community is growing. Great things are happening on there. Soon we'll be doing some lives in there, I think, too, which will be really cool. So you'll get to watch watch us on there. All the podcast episodes are in there. Many of the snippets that you can watch. Go follow us on Facebook. We'll be right back on the Daddy Dialogue Podcast. Back on the Daddy Dialogue Podcast. I'm your man, Jay Blaze, and got my man Bonsky here. And yo, I like your shirt, man. That's your official material. That's
Yes, sir.
Atapa team. Right now?
Prototype.
Yo, what does Atapa mean again?
A tap team
A
means
tap?
all things to all people.
Okay.
So if you're a
Oh, that's why
follower,
you just
you
said
are
that.
a part of the ATAP team.
Yeah.
A lot of people say
with your
ATAP.
vision.
A lot of people say ATAP, but there's no dash. So why you say ATAP? Say
Okay.
ATAP.
Atap.
A tap team.
I like the
like a
shirt.
tack team,
Yes.
but a tap. Yeah,
Like
man.
it.
So
Like the
soon
situation.
come.
Soon come. But you're seeing it on the camera, so soon you can get it too.
Yeah.
We'll tell you how to put it on camera. Listen, we've been talking about the embarrassing,
But they're now encouraging.
the now encouraging. Okay, we started
Yeah.
embarrassing, and now we're encouraging.
We're encouraged.
Yes, we are. We're talking about the fact that we've struggled as parents, or parents are struggling with the fact they don't teach their kids Spanish enough, or their kids don't know Spanish, period. Like, literally. They're like, ¿Qué es eso? What, daddy? Like, I have the problem all the time with my son where I talk to him and he's like, what? What are you saying? He knows words now, thank God. There's words between his grandmother, my wife, and a couple of different people. There's words, especially when he's in trouble, he knows what time it is quickly. Those seem to be the words they always learn really, really fast. The ones when they're in trouble.
Deja cuando llegamos a casa.
Que te voy a dar tremendo fuetazo. O chancletazo. Either or. Yeah, and so we've been talking about that. We've been talking about the reasons why, so you don't feel that bad. And I was telling Alan, look, bro, don't feel bad. There's a lot of parents dealing with the same situation. We spoke about some of the reasons, just to recap, the reasons why. Some of them were because sometimes kids feel embarrassed at school, or secondly, it's not being spoken at home. And then we said, okay, so what are some of the things we can do as a family to incorporate this session of learning Spanish? And I want to say this before we go into any of these resolutions or things you can do with your son or your daughter or your family to get them to speak more Spanish, is that the first thing you don't want to do, or the first thing you don't want to do is judge your child because they don't know Spanish, or put them in a position of a judgment where you're coming at their necks and being like how we were talking. You don't know Spanish. You should know because you're Nika and you eat this food. You should know.
Right.
That is not the approach. It's probably going to get your kid to not want to learn the language
Even worse,
at all. It's probably going to be worse.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, okay, I don't know. This dude, my dad tortured me because I
Right.
didn't know. And so with us, I think it's different. I think it's learning first how your kid learns, and then secondly saying, how can I slowly apply some just like how Spanish people learn English by watching movies and shows, you can do the same thing with your child. So
Yeah,
putting some
that's
Spanish
very true.
stuff. Yes, you can do that and do it in a slick way where there's Spanglish movies now.
Yeah.
Where you can slowly get them to be like listening, learning, saying, okay. And then the other thing,
That's pretty dope.
something I didn't know about, which was really interesting, that you could do with your spouse or you could do by yourself. You don't have to do it with a spouse if you don't have to, is one person in the household speaks Spanish all the time and the other one speaks English.
Got
So when
you.
your kid is confused and is like, ¿qué? Then the Spanish person, the
Yeah.
Spanish partner could be like, this is what he meant, speak to him in Spanish, and then the English one could sort of give him that reassurance.
That's pretty
and
cool.
make him feel safe.
We
I
kind
didn't-
of do that now.
Oh,
we
that's not
kind of
good.
do
That's good.
a little bit. It's more like
So who
all right, babe.
So who does the Spanish part and who does the English?
I be trying to, because we fight, we go back and forth. We say who has the more Spanish. You know what I'm saying?
Does your wife maneuver Spanish better than you do?
I think I definitely still do.
Oh, better than she does?
Yeah. And
probably
she's
looking
ready.
at you
Darts right
sideways.
now. Darts.
It's
darts.
coming at your face.
But
Like,
I say,
what are you talking about?
I look
boy?
at her one day and I go, today, you're gonna talk to me only in Spanish.
That's how you do it?
That's how I'm gonna tell her.
That sounds like that dude. What's his name from the movie? Tony Montana?
No, that's more like, today, all you're gonna do is talk to me in Spanish.
It's a combination between that and an Italian.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
yeah.
combination going on
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Una
yeah.
furia que tiene going
Yeah.
on. It's a little wild. So I think, but that might work too. You never know. I think we don't do I'll be honest.
It's a good challenge. It's fun. It's a fun
let
challenge.
Let me keep it a buck, bro. Let me keep it a buck. No cap.
You're slowly getting me to want to try, but
it's hard
think I'm
because
doing
you have
good
to be
enough.
consistent.
yeah,
And,
I think I'm doing good enough.
oh my God. Look how you just get by. I'm just getting by here, but I'm okay. You're like
Yeah.
you got to I don't think I'm doing a good job. I'll be real.
Me either.
I know you're saying it like I'm just
But
getting
look.
by. I'm not.
But
I'm
it's
horrible.
a B plus, man.
You said a B plus, cuz?
You know?
That's what you're throwing out. It sounds like a C minus, but okay.
It is, but you be like, but C minus is
Get it
better
up
than
there.
a
My
D.
wife gets it to a B, cuz.
Yeah.
Nah, man, I'm
For
failing.
sure.
I'm doing a D minus, D minus, or a F, cuz. F
Yeah.
plus. It's bad.
She got more vernacular. I just got more of the flow. I feel
You're really trying to clean it
2.5
up now.
hours coming back, bro.
You're really cleaning it
gonna
up
be a
right
long
now.
talk.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly. You got a long drive back. It's not gonna be fun. I don't want to be in your car. And I'm just saying, I'm doing bad. I'll tell you why I'm doing bad because, and this is something you can do. Okay, so we're gonna
Okay.
talk about my discrepancies.
Okay.
And then we're gonna find a resolution right there in the same sentence, so I don't look that bad.
Let's go.
I'm not making a respectful effort to speak it in my house. And when I do, I think I'm not choosing the best verbiage to use in the moment. I'm exposing myself out here suddenly. You know, because I don't know if you
So
had
verbiage
this,
as in the.
I'll say something real crazy. Okay, something
Okay.
out of pocket, something that is not supposed to be conversed. Not that I'm saying a cuss word, but I'm just not using the. I don't know if you know this term in Puerto Rico.
What is maring they use? You say maring. You call
Maning is a
Maning?
term
That's
that
hilarious,
Dominicans use when they're saying a friend. Like
You called me that in the first podcast
And you
we
laughed.
did, and I cracked up because
and
I
you
was like,
laughed
I don't know what that is.
Dominicans
but it's
know what
hilarious.
that is. I'm sorry. It's friend. It's like maning, amigo, friend, papito. It's like in Puerto Rico
Okay.
type of thing. And so I'm doing a horrible job, bro. But it's bad.
Come
This
on.
is pretty. This is
Come
pretty
on,
bad.
bro. You already said there's millions of them out there.
I
too.
didn't want to go here, bro. I feel bad. My heart is hurting.
It's like we're all
Cue
taking
the violin music.
Yeah, but
It's coming in now.
you can't just do that to yourself.
So
there's millions.
I don't know if you know this, but all Hispanic parents, when they get mad, they usually speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And the verbiage or the quality of verbiage isn't always the best. Have you dealt with that before?
I just always remember the word coco. Cabeza la coco.
Okay. Oh, see, you're good. My parents
It never
had,
really got.
my parents,
vulgar.
I don't know, there's people watching right now, and
Yeah.
I'm sure in their back of their mind, they're like, yeah, my parents used to say not really nice words
Yeah.
when they were mad.
I
or
like,
they
how,
were
I
describing
like how they
me.
blend it all together. Cantue.
God, oh my God. Oh my God. See, you get it. What more must I expound on if you've clearly made it clear
Yes, sir.
on where we're at? Yeah,
The
so
domicile was
cut
recollected.
the violin now because that was the emotional part, but this is the real
Straight
gutter
up.
part. Yeah, they spoke to me pretty rough. And so I'm not going to lie, I watched that. Sometimes I do that too. So like, cucho, or I'll say like a word that has not to be said.
Is concho an actual?
No, it's a whole nother word. There's an N-O in there that's supposed to go instead of concho, but concho is the clean Christian version. I just said part so they get it. Some people are
Okay.
watching, they know what I'm talking about. It's a Dominican Puerto Rican thing, but you'll get it later. You know the word. Trust me, you've heard it 100 million times.
Okay.
When you like bang your finger or like concho, but you say,
Oh,
there you go.
yes.
Ah,
Thank
exactly.
you.
So you get
Bro,
it.
you brought me home.
Yeah. I bring the trip down. You get it. And so like I've said that, and my kid is watching, bro. He's listening.
Yeah.
And so if that's the verbiage I'm using, I'm just not using the right verbiage at the
I
right
hear
time.
you.
And so
Okay.
I'm not exposing him to a environment where he's learning Spanish music, and I'm pushing it on him for him to learn it. So what can we do as dads? One, create that. We talked about that plan. You and your spouse, one speaks Spanish. You're already doing it sort of to a way.
In a way.
Just refine it. Tweak
Yeah.
it a little better.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. The way you said that you and your wife sort of speak Spanish, your kids don't understand what you're saying.
Right.
I think that's a good,
Kind of helps.
that kind of helps too. That's
She's catching
actually,
on.
It's not bad. That's not bad. But she's figuring it out more and more every day.
Yep.
And that's pushing her to learn the language.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
Yeah.
And then the last one is being extremely intentional about moments that you do want to speak Spanish and bringing them along for the ride and not making them feel like they're a part, like they're not a part. And so when I say that, an example, your grandmother from Puerto Rico calls and she says bendiciones, and you're like, what que rayo are you saying? Because
Oh,
Puerto
yeah.
Rico say that too.
Yeah.
I didn't know what those
Well,
were.
you have to say bendición, right?
You say bendición
and
back.
they give you the blessing.
Exactly. So you're, in Puerto Rican culture, when your family or elder calls you, they usually say bendiciones. You say bendiciones back. And that's like, it's respect. It's like family.
Yeah.
It's like the first thing you do before you even say hi or nothing.
So that's like the translation to blessings, ma.
Yes.
Blessings, son. How are
Exactly.
you?
And
Okay.
so, like, that's a teaching moment. If you have your kid around you and you're on speakerphone or whatever, they're listening, look, this is the reason why. And then you pronounce it with them.
Yo.
They're not going to be great at it because, sometimes when I speak to my child, I'm like, dilo así, or say it like this. And he's banging the word up. But I make sure, and this is important, if you're listening, you're a parent, and you're walking your kid through a session of just teaching them Spanish, the key here is not to make them feel inferior. It's coming alongside of them, like we've said before, and saying, okay, you don't know this word in Spanish, let me pronounce it with you. Walk with them through it. Se dice así. Wow. However, esa palabra se dice así. Bendición.
You took me
Papi.
back to Mexicano. Bendición, mami. Da, 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 da.
And so,
Wow, it's in there.
help them, walk them through it. Don't, because I feel like if you encourage your kid to learn their language and you you hold them by the hand, and I'm not saying physically, but as you're doing it, teaching them, it encourages them inside.
Yeah,
Trust
it's
me,
in there.
because there's something that happens, and I know you know this. When you learn that first word and you know it in Spanish and you know how to
Yeah.
say it correctly,
Yeah.
and you give it that that
Yes.
stank when you saying it to
Yeah.
somebody real disrespectful that just says something, not
Yeah.
like that, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. There's confidence that comes with that. So when you teach your kids something, they start saying it correctly, you encourage them, one, and two, they feel secure in saying it and being proud of. Now they're representing their culture in a way
Yeah.
without them even knowing. They're saying, bendición, abuela. And whatever it is, like I've noticed now with my son, not that we're doing it perfectly. Let me just keep it a
Okay.
buck.
Okay.
Sometimes we have sessions, sometimes we don't. We should be doing more.
I hear you.
But now I feel like there's certain moments when we question him and he knows these key words. So he,
Oh.
like, ¿cómo tú estás? And he says, bien. And he says it with confidence. Bien.
Ah.
And ¿cómo tú te llamas? Like there's certain things we say, he says them and you can see it, the confidence glaring in his smile. He's saying it because now he knows. And then he correlates that with like, man, I'm Latino and I know
Yeah,
Spanish.
and you just did-
and it all
that just
comes-
happened.
It all comes together.
And I like how y'all say it too. It's like, ¿cómo tú estás?
¿Cómo
But for
tú estás?
us, it's ¿cómo estás?
Exacto. I mean,
Or-
everybody's going to do it different.
¿Cómo va vos?
¿Cómo va?
I don't know if that's how you.
No, that's, you mixed like Puerto Rican with Nica there.
¿Cómo va vos?
But it works.
Yeah.
¿Cómo estás vos, chavalito?
¿Cómo estás vos?
Vos, ¿cómo estás vos?
bro.
Yeah, so I'm not Nika, but I
But that's
love,
dope, yo. Like you're on point,
I
boy.
love the language,
You're
bro.
on point, my G.
I
Salute.
wish I knew it.
Yeah.
It's good. And I just know the bad stuff. Pray for me. And so like what I'm saying is all those things correlate together and help you not one, just get your child to speak Spanish, but dig deeper into their culture and learn their culture. And although I will say this, man, because I think your point was extremely valid. I think especially for the beginning stages, because it doesn't put so much pressure on them.
Yeah.
I think like when you said, listen, if they're not able to learn the language and like somebody's on their chest, they have to know this, this, and this, but at least they can be open to learning other people's culture.
For sure.
And then at some point, enough will happen inside where they're like, I'm going to make the transition to learn more about my own culture.
Yeah.
And so like, I respect it. I hope that this conversation not just engages you to get your kid to learn more Spanish, but at the same time be like, I want to learn more about who I am.
Yeah.
Yes, we know who we are
I think
in
the
Jesus.
inflections, is that what it
Yes.
is? The
'Cause
tone.
but there's something powerful, bro, about you. And I know we weren't going to talk about this, but it is
Yeah.
what it is, and we'll be done with this. You can chime in and tell me what you think.
Yeah.
When you know your identity as like a believer,
Right.
you know your culture,
Yeah.
those things together are extremely powerful.
Synergetic.
Yes.
I learned
Because
that.
you go into groups of people.
Yeah.
Now you're no longer closed to one group of people. Jesus could be presented to a group of people that would have never known if you
In a crazy way.
didn't dig into your culture to be around them and mesh around them. And that's why, like, even when we talk about your music or anybody's music,
Yeah.
when they're doing music for Jesus, like, the fact that you do the kind of music you do, it opens doors for people to hear in different cultures be open to listening to it. And so
I
like
hope it really does, man.
all those things.
Trying
I
to be
think
different, like
you
actually
are,
be
and
different.
Listen, I know it's
You know what I
hard.
mean? Like actually being different.
I know what you
I'm
mean.
not talking
You don't
about
wanna
making a
follow-
song saying I'm different. Yeah, I'm different.
No.
Like, I'm
that's-
trying.
But I'm saying the more you dig deeper into, and I know God does what He's gonna do, but I think the more you dig deeper into realizing who you are,
I
you
think
don't
it's
know
gonna
what
open something up.
you don't know what genres. Because when you tell me about your, like I hear just the inflection and the passion when you speak about your uncle.
Yeah.
And now a lot of things
I
are
look up
connected.
to him a lot,
And to me, like a lot of those things connect to the way that you are with music.
bro. He's
And
a
so-
big guy.
And so
you
like
know?
same thing.
dreads. He was fatigued.
I'll give you.
Dude was brolic, bro. He
I'll
cool. It was
correlate.
cool.
I'll correlate, and we still got time, but I'll correlate my story, yours with mine, and I'll tell
Okay.
you how I can correlate it.
Okay.
When I was young, the reason why I got into radio was because I had an uncle who I would watch he would sit. He had this enclosed balcony, okay, and he was newly into radio. He would sit every morning and grab. And if he's watching this, his kids are probably watching. His name is Colniel, okay? Augusto Colniel. He lives in Tampa, Florida.
What a name.
He's my uncle. He's a trumpet player, and he did radio for many years, okay? And I watched him, like, religiously. He would sit in front of his porch, and he would read the newspaper like a radio article. If someone was like, he would read it, okay?
Yeah.
I would watch him and be like, oh, my God. That's amazing. I think I want to do that one day. I watched him, okay? But I was afraid because I would watch him and be like, he spoke so eloquently and his
Yeah.
Spanish was so solid. And I was like, I'm
Like that
legit.
Vico C interlude, good.
Yes, like that.
Dun,
And-
dun, dun, dun. You know what I'm talking about? When he's like, the public público.
yes.
Like that?
Yeah, that.
He had a tone to him.
Yes, he did all that. It was the whole inflection.
Was he
how
deep? Like, what kind of
and
register?
he's a very respected. He's this Dominican man that is tall. He's very educated, very respectful. He knows how to speak. He's good. Radio was perfect for him. Okay, like
Even
perfect.
outside?
huh?
Even outside radio?
Yes. I don't know why he didn't pursue it, but he was good at what he did. And so I watched him. I listened. And I was like, man, he's just so eloquent. But I felt like I'm this hood kid from the streets. I can never talk like him. And I let my fears dictate that until later, many years later, after rapping, after doing all this stuff, opportunity came where I went to school. And I've never said this story to anyone. You're like, one of
I
the
was gonna
first people-
say, like you said,
No.
rap. I was like, ding.
Nobody, yeah, like I've never. This is why I'm glad we're doing this. Years later came by, opportunity to study radio came, and I didn't even know. Even now, like I thank God that He's one of the people that respects me the more for what I do.
Got you.
Like I have His respect. He's one of the only people that I care about. And he didn't know this. He probably doesn't know until right now. If he watches this, they're going to tell him, I'm sure. But I was looking for his validation because he didn't know that I looked up to what he was doing.
That's
To this
what's
day,
up.
I've never told him. He knows. He sensed something because when we talk, we're radio people, so he knows.
Yeah.
But I remember years ago, Bonsky, this is crazy. I'm even saying this. God is good. I'm so happy because years ago, he gave me validation by telling me something. Like he told me in a I visited him in Tampa. I was with my family, and he was like, "You do a good job. I respect what you do."
Oh, snap.
And to me, it was the world because I looked at him like this guy that was this. Like
All these
respectful. He was older. He was this. I respect everything. His faith, his family, I still talk to him, and we don't talk all the time. But when I see him, there's just a vibe about Cornel that he's unique. He's different.
know.
And so, like to me, it was special. And so, he doesn't even know that he impacted me like that. And I am the way I am about radio. And if people don't know this, like. I'm my own worst critic, and I always want to be better.
Yeah.
You told me this a while back, like you're always self-reflecting to see.
Yep.
And so that's my life. I
Yeah.
do that now. I think I'm pretty good, but I know there's people that are blown away, and I'm like, nah.
There is a signature.
You could be blown away.
I told you that. I said,
Yeah.
if this is what you're calling critical,
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
is crazy.
and to me, there's levels. Like
That's
and you know why that's happened? Because I've been around people that have been better than me, and are versatile and that
Yeah.
can do more. And so like the same way I push you and I say, you go harder.
Yeah.
And even if it's confusing, it's like this valley of like, I want to get to the sound. Trust me. That process there is where it's going to get you to that. And so like me, what people see now, refined dude that's done it for 20 years, son, there was 10 years in there that was dark and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was totally confused.
Yeah.
And so, but I had to trust in like the skill God gave me. And so like how you move, it could be wilderness. And I'd say this to anybody, like whatever it is that you're passionate about and you're doing, everything in a good, even when you find the sound that you think you're good at, there's going to be a moment where you're going to think, oh, I've reached the peak. It's getting dark.
I hope I never.
No,
get there.
but hear me out though. And so it gets bleak and it's dark and you're like, I've reached the peak of where I'm good and people have gassed me and I know I'm great and you get all this crap in your head, but then you've peaked and then you get around some people that are better than you
And then
and you're
you're
like, oh,
humble.
snap, there's a gap that I'm missing.
You're humble.
And that happened to me. And so when that happened to me, I went back to the drawing board. And what I did, if I couldn't get all the information, this is something different, but if I couldn't get all the information that they were teaching me, I took their habits. I was like, oh, that's what you do to get good?
Best form of flattery.
Bro, there's a lady right now. She's a radio DJ. I'm sorry I'm going into this. Her name is Claudia Pinzon. She's respected in Miami. She is a god in Christian radio. Like, she's been in the industry 30 years. She has books. She is a beast, like a beast on the mic. She's versatile. It's not that she has an amazing voice. She's great at what she does. She knows, she makes listeners feel like they're cousins. Like, she's great,
Wow.
okay? And one thing she does that I watched her for years working at the same radio station, her prep work was impeccable. Like the way this lady preps for a segment or just a show or just, it could be the smallest 5-minute thing. She preps like she's doing a freaking documentary. Like,
Dang.
it's work. And so that's taking me years. The way I am now, that's why I felt bad in our
Bro,
first
the
podcast.
way you are now, I'm like,
No.
oh, so you were disgruntled?
No,
in the
when I
first
started in
podcast?
radio, you know what I used to do, bro? This is bad. And I'm sorry we're jumping off. But
Yeah.
let me tell you something. When I started in radio, what I would do, bro, let's go. Get on the mic. Let's rock. You're going to say this. I'm going to say this. And you know what I used to depend on? Oh, my beautiful voice. I have a great voice. I'm going to captivate them. It doesn't matter. If I hype them, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. These people listening, it don't matter. The way I sound, and I rocked with that for a while.
Yo.
But you can only go so far with just this little talent you think you got. I'm a problem when I have the voice and I got the skill to do my homework and come to you and speak to you eloquently and make sure I can get on your. See, I'm a whole nother problem.
That's a sound
And
bite.
So do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Bro, that is a
there's a
sound
lot
bite.
of people that think just because, and that's why I said this, I put this up, and we'll jump right back and we'll be done here. Everybody's doing podcasts now. Everybody and their mama.
Yep.
I love it. I
love it,
enjoy
yes.
it. I don't even hate.
Yeah.
Do your homework. Because
Yeah.
that's what's going to make you different from everybody else.
Exactly.
Be unique in your voice.
Yes.
Like, be who you are. Stop being who you're going to be. There's people listening, watching. They're wondering, oh, I've done 3 podcasts. I've done 4. We're not the biggest podcast. I'm not giving you no how-to book. I'm not going to send you a PDF tomorrow. Like, that's not what this is.
Right.
But I know we're putting work on the back end to be better at what we're doing.
Sure.
And that's not just this part. That's the prep. That's the audio. That's the lighting. That's the
Everything.
camera. That's why we have the
Everything.
conversations.
Self-sufficiency for the time being.
Like, let's be good at what we
Wow.
are with what we have, but let's continue to get better.
No doubt.
And I don't want to. And that's why I thank God I got you. I got
Hey.
your people. Because that's the way you think.
Bro,
that's
we
the way
balance
you move.
each other's strengths and weaknesses.
And so to me, like, that's the value of this.
Yeah.
Even if I was to leave tomorrow and not do another podcast, I learned something in these
Without a doubt,
in
my
here.
G.
And so to me, like, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
My hair sticker. But that's just
Yeah,
understanding where we're at. So before we go on a tandem, because we just went on a tandem, and I think some people learned some things out
Probably one
there.
of the best rabbit trails ever.
Yeah, but it
So
was
far.
crazy. And so to end, don't, and I have to read this because this is something you said. It sort of correlates with some of the stuff you said earlier when it comes to learning your native language. Spanish is being learned, not lived. And so you have to live it. That means at the house, you know, when you're making the the arroz con guandule
Better get that
and el
Goya.
pernil and the, you know, like
Have
there could
that
be
aluminum pot.
There could be what? Come on,
Come on.
son. There could be a session right there where literally you tell your child a little bit of the history of why you're eating arroz con gandules, why your parents cooked it for you, why the
Yes.
pernil is here,
Why the leaf is on top.
Yeah, come
that
on.
big old giant leaf thing.
Come on, son. The hoja that goes on
Yeah.
top. Why we're drinking coquito
Yes.
during Christmas.
Yep.
All those conversations could be done in Spanish, or it could be started the conversation to get your kids to speak more language. And one, they'll be better at being confident in who they are. And secondly, be able to mingle and just build better relationships with you. I think when your kids know their native language, it's another way to communicate. They can say, I know, like you know, when your parent was mad at you or trying to tell you something, they would say something in Spanish, one word that
know it's
literally told you the
inside.
whole sentence and paragraph you
It's
needed to
in
know.
there. You're like, oh,
You know that
that's
he
home.
boom and done.
home.
And so I think that's why those things are important.
That's what's up.
I'm out of here, man. I could talk for days.
For sure, bro.
My what's the name is getting dry, but I think we got some great things here, and people can definitely learn some things. Don't feel bad about you not teaching your kid Spanish. Take it slow, and understand that. Show your son grace or your child grace, and at the
Sure.
same time, make sure it's a journey. It's not a battle. It's a war, and it's going to take a long time. So
That's it.
take your time.